program is my husband, actually. He's a civil engineer for Highline Engineering out of Marietta, Georgia. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself and how he landed a job around here working for somebody that is in a different state.
All right, my name is Brian Bayshore. I graduated from Antwerp, Ohio in 2008. And
he's all right, isn't he, kid?
I went to college at Trine University, where I met Courtney. Graduated Trine with civil engineering. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how electricity goes from the power generating station to your house. We all know electricity is generated in a power station. In the area, some of the closest power generating stations are just north of Toledo. There's a nuclear power plant on the shore of Lake Erie. There's a few coal-fired power plants down in southwest Indiana, and there's a natural gas power plant on the shore of Lake Michigan, kind of by just west of Grand Rapids. From the power generating stations, I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but from power generating stations, the power leaves the power plants in what's called a transmission line. Transmission lines range from anywhere from 746 kilovolts down to 69 kilovolts. If anyone's been on the south side of Fort Wayne, on the south side of Fort Wayne and seen the big transmission lines going down, just being constructed down on the south side of Fort Wayne, those are 500 kilovolt transmission lines. 500 kilovolts can power around the size of Defiance. So there's a huge power lines that carry electricity from the power generating station long distances and don't have much electrical current loss. Transmission lines go down to 69 kilovolts. 69 kV lines are lines that go from town to town, from Antwerp to Hicksville, from Hicksville to Edgerton. Going down 49, you'll see structures with 3 insulators and then basically 3 conductors along the highway there. That's 69 kV. 69 kV again, powers about the size of Hicksville or Antwerp. Those transmission lines, if you can picture it from the power generating station, transmission lines, big lattice towers, big steel poles carry it to town. On the outside of each town, there's usually at least one substation. The transmission lines run into the substation. At the substation, they enter transformers, and the transformers reduce it down to around 12.5 to 15 kilovolts. There, it enters the distribution lines. Distribution lines, if you can picture it, are basically like a big screen, like a big screen door. And each little square in the screen is like a square mile. So if you can picture it, like in each county and each service territory, I know a lot of people around here have AEP service or electricity, or Northwest Electric up around Bryan, Montpelier area. That's what we personally have. So the transmission lines carry the power to the substations. There, the local co-op takes over. So AEP would take over around here. So AEP has a service area, and they service their distribution lines, services to our houses, factories, so forth. So everyone says they got to be connected to the electrical grid. The electrical grid is basically like that screen door I told you about, where each square is a square mile, and connected. They connect them like that in case a storm comes and a tree falls over the line. It takes off a section of that line, but if you can picture the screen door, each square mile is connected, so it can still feed power from both directions to that broken line because everything's connected. I'll leave that as that. It gets a lot more complicated, but I personally work for a company called Highline Engineering. We do consultant work for local co-ops. So for AEP, AEP I think has around 2 or 3 that we're technically called line technician engineer, a staking technician. So basically, me personally, our company does consultant work for the local co-ops. So I'm a field engineer. I travel around. Right now I'm doing work on the south side of Fort Wayne for a co-op called Heartland REMC, but it's basically the same thing as AEP around here. So when the distribution lines going down your county road gets outdated, can't supply enough power to your house, a new factory goes in and we need to supply raw power to the factory, and the local co-op doesn't have the engineering staff to engineer a new line, to engineer a new tap coming off of their service area. They would call in a field engineer like myself, and basically we travel there to help them out. So I don't work directly for a co-op, but kind of like a consultant. They call us in to do work for them. So I personally am working on about 12 miles of a distribution line rebuild down on the south side of Fort Wayne, down about between GM plant and Roanoke. They're expanding a lot down there. New factories are going in. New Walmart's building a distribution center down there, and they simply can't supply enough power to the factories down there. So they have to update all of their distribution lines to supply power to these new factories. So I'm going in and retiring out old copper lines, which were built back in the 70s. These copper lines back then could supply more than enough power to houses back then, but with today's electronics, the old copper lines simply can't supply power for our power needs. So I'm going in and retiring out all these old lines, old copper lines, and rebuilding with, it's called a CSR. It basically has a steel, the new conductor has a steel core, which gives the cable its strength, and then it's wrapped with aluminum, which gives the cable the conductivity that it needs to supply power. So with these new, larger lines, the poles have to be replaced because the old poles can't supply the weight of these new lines. So I'm retiring out these old copper lines, old poles, and going through and installing these new poles. I'm the engineer, so I go ahead of the construction crew. I'm the guy out there on the side of the road pounding stakes in the ditch to tell the construction crew behind me where to place the poles, what materials are needed, and how tall poles they need. I go out there and I mark from point A to point B, basically county road intersections, called like dead ends, which where the cable runs into a pole and dead ends, and then it's guide for support. So I go from point A to point B and pick the best route. I typically talk to landowners to see if they have a preference on if they want to move closer to their house, away from their house, just to keep everyone happy. So I go through and I basically pound in stakes where the new poles should be, and I make a material list and give it to the construction crew behind me. Along with rebuilding these new lines, I'll just go into a little bit about it. So if you can picture it, like I told, the transmission lines deliver power to the substation. I know there's a substation right out here between Hicksville and Edgerton. There's a lot more around here. But anyway, out of the substation, distribution lines distribute the power on the grid, and it goes down each county road to each of our houses. Back in the 60s and 70s, when a lot of these old lines were rebuilt, obviously some has been rebuilt since then, but the ones I'm currently working on were built back in the 70s. There weren't any regulations as far as lightning protection. So if a lightning would strike with these old lines, then it would wipe out the entire section up until the substation, where with today's new standards, co-ops hate electrical outages. That means that their field crew have to get up in the middle of the night and go out and service your house. They don't like to do that. It costs them money, and we don't like to have power outages ourselves. So we do anything we can to prevent to have lightning protection. Today's standards call for every quarter mile of distribution line. Then they have to call out for a lightning surge protector, is what they're called. Basically, it connects the hot wire on the distribution line to the ground on the pole itself. So if lightning were to hit anywhere in that quarter mile section, it would go to each lightning surge protector and hit the ground and only take out one or two houses, if that. So that's a new thing that co-ops are starting to do now to prevent lightning or to have lightning protection. On the distribution line, like I said, they're around 12.5 to 15 kV lines. Those can supply power, 7-8 miles, connect all of our houses, no problem. But of course, that amount of power cannot go directly into our house. So each of our houses is connected to the distribution line. Each one of our houses is tapped into it. Typically on the side of the road, you'll have the closest power line pole to your house will have a transformer. Those transformers connect onto the hot wire of the power line and connect on the hot wire. So the power runs through the transformer. And there the transformer reduces the power down to 120, 240, which is what typically most of our houses use. From the transformer to our house is called triplex. Each of our houses is either connected underground or overhead. From the transformer, the line will either run right down the pole and conduit from the transformer, run right down the pole underground into our houses to our meter box, or it'll be connected overhead. Underground is a lot cleaner, better looking, but it has, being underground, it does have power loss. So we typically don't run underground power more than 100, 150 feet. If a certain house wants underground and it's longer than that, then we do call it for material called underground primary, where basically it goes from, say, I want to build a house 200 yards off the road and want underground the whole way. We have to call out for underground primary, where basically it takes the full 15 or 12.5 kilovolts from the main line and it runs underground, no transformer underground. So it's hot underground, 12.5 kV, and then your house will have a transformer close to the house where the underground primary runs to the transformer, underground transformer, and then it goes down to 120, 240, which is what our houses need, and then it runs underground to our house. So those are just some typical applications. I know I'm just rambling on. If you want to have any questions, yeah, go ahead.
We have the Fort Worth Towers out here in Hicksville with
Okay, yeah.
steel pole.
Yeah.
Is that a good addition to the community?
Yes. I work for Highline Engineering now. When I graduated college, I worked for a company called Commonwealth and Associates, where we did transmission line design. Transmission line design is a lot more engineering is involved in transmission line design, which is what FWT builds. Those are the big steel structures. Those are used for 69, 138 kV, kind of like what you see going down 49. That's really good having those. When I worked at Commonwealth, we actually took a tour of FWT, which is kind of odd since I'm from around here. But there's not too many places like that around here, which is really good. It cuts costs down. Yeah.
From the point of generation, how far can they run power? I mean, 50 miles, how many miles?
I know the power line on the south side of Fort Wayne, they are that. You guys know what I'm talking about? The big lattice towers that they built on the south side of Fort Wayne, huge cable. I just referenced that because that's what most of us see going down 69. But that certain conductor runs from a power generating station down in Terre Haute, Indiana. From there, it goes to Indianapolis, and it goes to a big switch yard in Indianapolis. I believe that line is even like 786 kV, which is about the largest we typically use. And then there's a big switch yard in Indianapolis, Indianapolis. And then from Indianapolis, that 500 kV lines from Indianapolis to Fort Wayne. So they can, again, they do it all from a cost standpoint. It's kind of hard to explain, but so they take the larger kV lines and run it to like Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Columbus, Ohio. Picture that, huge lines. And then from there, it drops down to around 230 kV. And 230 kV can power about the size of Defiance. So from the 500 kV lines, it goes to the switch yard to smaller kV lines, and that distributes at a finer standpoint.
Was that power generated on the Ohio River and then passed through?
Yeah, it's on the, what river is that down there? Can't think of the river, but yes, it is on a river. Wabash. Yep. There's actually even a Wabash generating station. That one's a little bit smaller, so that would just be around Terre Haute, Vincent's area.
What about a cyber threat or terrorists or anything that could blow up our system?
I know it's a threat. I specifically don't know anything about it. I know part of Highline Engineering, we have power analysis team where a co-op can hire this power analysis team to kind of regulate. Actually, I'm kind of going on about this. It has nothing to do with what you're talking about. So I personally don't know anything about that. I'm sure there's teams out there that try to prevent that to hacking into our grid and destroying all the power in it.
How does the wind farms, the generating plants at South Antwerp and around Payne, how do those feed the grid or feed the lines?
I believe I heard the ones down by Bainware area, around that area. I heard those are owned from a company in Kentucky, I believe. I can't think of the name of the company off the top of my head, but I believe those are owned by a company down in Kentucky, and they basically monitor. So since I kind of explained the grid, like the transmission, there's a transmission line grid and a distribution grid, where something like that would be part of the transmission line grid because it produces more than 12.5 kV, which is what the distribution can handle. So I believe there's kind of like they monitor. Basically, that electricity goes directly onto the grid, and they get paid for the kilovolts they provide onto the grid. So people like Van Wert could be using that power, but it's monitored and regulated by a company in Kentucky, and basically they get the paycheck for how much money they put on the grid, if that makes sense.
Is any of this in these higher transmission lines and stuff, is that in a three-phase or
yes, and I never quite I'm a civil engineer, I'm not an electrical engineer, so I do everything from a structural standpoint, but yes, it is three-phase, just like a three-phase distribution line. The cross arms, you have 3 hot wires on top and the ground on bottom. Basically, it's the same concept, just a lot larger conductor and can supply a lot more power.
Now, between these towns, like say between Hicksville and Antwerp,
yeah.
Is that in three-phase thing going from town to town then, or?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Yes. So yeah, I know the line running from Antwerp to Hicksville is 69 kV. It's got the insulators coming off the pole. Oops, sorry. 3 insulators coming off the pole, and those 3 conductors are hot, and then you got the neutral. On transmission, the ground is above them for lighting protection. So you got the ground on top, and then basically the ground provides like a kind of like an umbrella. It goes down into a V of protection, and it protects the 3 hot wires, the 3-phase down the pole. Yes.
You spoke about replacing copper wiring from the 70s.
Yeah.
Do you recycle that? Does it get reused, or is it totally?
Yes, the co-op, at least from yes, it is recycled.
Okay.
They collect it, and they actually winded it back up on the spool. The conductor, they transport the conductor. It's kind of cool how they string the wire. We never think of like, hey, how do they get that conductor up on the poles and strung so tight and everything, but it's kind of cool how they do it. They basically, I don't know if you guys want me to tell you, but they basically, they retired out the old copper, and when they retired it out, they basically wound it up on the spool. Basically, it's just like a big spool where they just wind it up on. But how they string it is they take these color-coded, basically it's like a steel reinforced rope that's really lightweight, but really strong.
So it's a better product than the old copper, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it can supply. The copper was really good, has really good conductivity, but for the size it is, it takes very little copper to supply a lot of power. You can't make it too large because it's not very strong. So the copper wires are smaller than a pencil around, because any more than that, there's too much weight. Like an ice storm, it'll just break the wire. So copper is really good conductivity, but it's not very strong, so they can't make it too large. Where this new ACSR conductor, it's got a steel core, which makes up for the strength of it, and then it's wrapped with aluminum, which aluminum's a little bit less of a conductor than copper, but still really good. So it's a lot stronger, and they can make it a little bit larger than
Will it last longer than copper?
The expected lifespan's around like 75 years, I think.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, it's built to last.
Thank you.
So a couple weeks ago, Susan Mack and I were talking about my program, and I didn't know what to do. And she said it had been a couple years since Michelle had spoken about the state of the hospital, so today we decided to talk about what's going on at CMH. I had the great privilege of working with Michelle when we both worked at Paulding, like for 4 or 5 years. So when I came here to Hicksville, I had already known her and worked with her. But Michelle started working at CMH in October of 2001. She started as Director of HR, Compliance and Volunteers. And then over the next 13 years, she's assumed many different responsibilities and roles. But in May of 2014, she became the CEO. Her bachelor's degree is from Bowling Green State University, yay, and is back in Yay Falcons. And her bachelor's of arts is in communication, HR, and management. And then she completed her master's degree, MBA, with a specialty in healthcare. And during her master's program, she was inducted into Alpha Chi, which is a fraternity honoring the top 10% of the students in the country. She is also inducted into Sigma Beta Delta, which is the top 20% of business students. And in addition to being a member and an officer of Hicksville Rotary, Michelle serves as deacon at St. Jacob's Church in Payne. She's a member of the Defiance Area Foundation, and she is active at the local level as well as the district level for the Black Swamp Boy Scout Council, including the district commissioner for Paulding, Van Wert, and Putnam County. Michelle Wagner.
So when I was invited here in July of 2014, it was kind of a daunting conversation. I believe in being transparent and honest, but I also didn't want to scare people about what was going on in the organization. So I'm much happier to be here and in front of you today to talk about where we've come in the last 2 years. In 14, we did put in a new radiology unit courtesy of the foundation, and most of you are aware that we were able to pass a levy, an operating levy or capital levy, in November of that year. It was good to pass that. We get approximately $120,000 a year from the levy, but when you think about our losses of $2.5 million in 2013, $120,000 is a very small percentage of our journey. We got through 2014, making some adjustments with staffing, watching our expenses, and we'll talk about the finance piece as we conclude. But in 2015, we knew we needed to reinvest, we needed to continue to grow and continue to improve. So looking at operational efficiencies continues to this day. There's still more of that to do, and they're going to hand out some color things on some of the things that we'll talk about. But as far as equipment, we brought in 2015 a new low-dose CT scanner. The cost of that was less than the maintenance we were paying on our old system, so we improved our quality and safety and decreased expenses. We also, with the levy money, put a roof over the over Health Fit and over the old surgery department, which is going to house the lab and respiratory services. We've purchased a centrifuge for the lab to spin down the blood, and we bought a new pulmonary function test. We were able to do basic lung function tests, but it had been some time since we could do a complete, and we were able to bring that in, which brings additional revenue into our organization. 2015, at the end of the year, we launched a program called Focus. You heard about that a couple weeks ago, and that's the outpatient counseling for seniors. Walk with the Doc program, which happens the second Thursday of every month with Dr. Reddy. Dr. Dozier came and brought us new procedures, as well as we added a nurse practitioner in our Antwerp clinic. Because of the groundwork that had been laid in 2015, we were awarded a 5-star Quality and Patient Satisfaction Award from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We were in the top 11% of the country at earning that. We received the National Rural Health Performance Leadership Award that same year, the Health Grades Patient Experience Award, and we were ranked as number 3rd cleanest hospital in the state of Ohio. So in that packet, you can see that our auxiliary was particularly helpful in providing new treadmills and some of their equipment to organization. Foundation put new TVs into Health Fit and provided some other services to us. So we got to 2015. We were better off than we were. We needed to keep moving. In 16, we've expanded our infusion service at the hospital, allowing appointments and a better patient experience for those that need injections or IV therapies. Dr. Grothaus joined us. He was the orthopedic surgeon at Bryan, and he's been keeping us very busy, and a lot of our success that we're having in 2016 directly relates to orthopedics. Partially because of Dr. Grothaus, we've expanded our athletic training program too to our schools. We provide athletic training services at Hicksville, Edgerton, Eden, Montpelier, and this year Fairview, and that's a free service that we provide to our school. Focus will continue to expand. We provided the food this summer for the summer lunch program here in the village, and we're getting ready to work on spinal cord stimulation, which will be temporary implanting of spinal cord stimulators to relieve chronic pain for patients. And then we also purchased a fracture table. That would be part of our investments. New defibrillator came. The new caravan service is, new caravan is in your packet. That was purchased. It was a $50,000 project and funded partially by the Rotary, so thank you. We have a vein viewer, which can see patients with hard veins. We had a member of our community come to us and say that his wife had bad veins as a result of some treatment, and he wanted to provide that equipment here in our community. So he purchased the vein viewer for us, which was very nice. And phase 3, which was the old surgery department, will be lab and respiratory, hopefully sometime in the next month or so. So when we think about every place we've been and what's been going on over the past couple years, from 2013 to 15, we decreased our expenses by $2.9 million, which is a pretty big reduction in 2 years for an organization of our size. We also did not, massacre programs or do mass layoffs to accomplish that. So I was pretty proud of our group. I invited Jane here today. Jane was with me day to day, every day through this, as well as some very other talented people. We could not be where we're at without the group at the hospital. Also invited Steve because Steve was my boss at the time. Now he'll tell you he's been demoted since he's working as our CFO, but it's definitely a group effort to get to where we've been. In 2016, our expenses are up a little bit, but so is our volume. So this year compared to last year at this time, from January to June, our revenue's up $3.4 million, our net revenue's up $2 million. We took our net operating loss from last year of $406,000 to a positive $554,000. So we've done another $1 million swing in operations this year. And then our bottom line last year through June was a negative $676,000. And in June of this year, it was a positive $342,000. So we've got a $1 million swing to the bottom line. July, slow month, but knowing what's going on in our organization, I'm confident we're going to finish 2016 with a positive bottom line, which will be the first one we've had since 2012 when we got $1.5 million for implementing electronic medical records. So we've been moving along at a good pace financially, as well as being able to expand programs and to do more. The other thing that I'm proud to talk about is that this book is on the Amazon #1 new book selling list, and we are in it. The author was aware of some of our success, aware of our behavioral standards, and so we contributed to the book, and we're actually cited in it. So if you're looking for one on building a better vision statement, our little hospital is in this book, so it's pretty incredible. Okay, things I need to say. At the end of this, there's information out for the upcoming Health Fit Walk and Ride, so if you come up, you can grab some documentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I want to introduce our new speech therapist. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, well, if you think of some, I'd like to introduce Jen Smith to you. Jen has her bachelor's in communication sciences and disorders, and then she got very smart, went to Bowling Green for her master's in speech. So another Falcon. I missed Bryce. He's not here today. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about speech pathology.
Hi everyone. I'm Jennifer Smith. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself here first before I get started about talking about what I do at the hospital. I am a local girl. I'm from Antwerp, so next town over. I graduated from high school in 2008, so for those of you who are like, wow, she's really young, yes. So I started my speech therapy journey kind of in high school. I did some job shadowing and I met a lot of really good people. And so I started doing some job shadowing at hospitals and nursing homes, and that's kind of when my love and passion for helping people started. So like Michelle said, I went to IPFW first and then went to Bowling Green. I graduated in 2014 with my master's degree, and I started working in the healthcare field in Fort Wayne. I started in a couple nursing homes and really enjoyed what I was doing, but then all of a sudden somebody told me about a position here at the hospital, which was amazing because it's 9.2 miles from my door, which is wonderful. So my drive went from 35 minutes to, I think, 11. So I started here at Community Memorial Hospital in May of this year. So I haven't been there very long. I'm trying to grow the caseload a little bit, get my feet wet, kind of branch out and meet some different faces. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do as a speech therapist. Most people know the physical therapy side and the occupational therapy side of the therapy world. You know, the people that help you walk, the people that help you dress and groom, but the speech therapy side is kind of a mystery. So I can work with people from babies all the way up to the elderly. We tend to work with, at least at the hospital, I tend to work with, you know, kiddos that are in preschool and can't be understood quite as easily as some other ones. I also work with, you know, people who have strokes and have swallowing problems. I do have some handouts up at the front that kind of gives a little overview of all the different areas that I can address. I will talk a little bit about some of them, but just in case you have some extra questions. So one of the big areas that I really like to address is dysphagia or swallowing disorders. In December of this year, I'm going down to a training and I'm going to get Vital Stim certified, which will bring a new service back to Community Memorial Hospital. It's a program where we use electrical stimulation to help the swallowing muscles. This can help anyone after a stroke, if they're, you know, just have aging muscles that aren't working as well. So that will be something that we'll be adding here, hopefully, start of the new year. Let's see, what else do I want to say? It's so broad. There's a lot of different areas that I can talk about and a lot of things that can confuse a lot of people, so I'll try to keep it very basic. One of the big things that I'm seeing at the hospital is I'm getting a lot of outpatients, which is awesome. A lot of people are kind of confused about the referral process and what you need to look for to refer people to speech therapy. So anyone from basically birth to 90 plus, if there are any issues with thinking skills, communicating, swallowing, memory, problem solving, you name it, I can basically treat it in some way or another. We also treat voice disorders. I've had a few patients that come in with a hoarse voice and they never know, you know, exactly what's going on. So that is another area that I can help people with. I love my job so far here at Community Memorial Hospital. I have an awesome range of people. I'm seeing outpatients. I'm seeing people when they come for inpatient stays. I'm also doing swallow studies with radiology. So people coming from all over the area to really get a good idea of what's going on. that is kind of the general overview. I can answer some questions if anyone has any questions or comments. Question? Yes?
In reference to thinking skills, can the Rotary get group rates?
Possibly. We need some group therapy here, huh? Any other questions? Question, yeah.
Were you in track at Antwerp?
I was, yes.
So you run up and down that hill on the Long River?
I do, yes. Yep, I did run track in high school. My family's from the area, so I'm very local. All my roots are in Antwerp. So yeah, and that was only a couple years ago. Any other questions? Yeah.
You said you work with young people on speaking and that. Does the school make references or anything like that?
The school has their own speech therapist, Julie, who used to be at the hospital, but now she's at the school. So I took her position. But yes, they do. They have a full-time speech therapist that works during the school year to help those kiddos out. So I'm there as kind of the extra when school's in session. And then for outside of school, they come to me for outpatient just for some refresher courses and kind of keep them going until school starts again. So. Yeah.
Getting a lot of, I know you probably do a lot of work with stroke patients. Stroke patients, things like that. Does any of that referral come from Dr. Dozier?
I don't think I've had a referral yet from Dr. Dozier, but absolutely. A referral can come from any family doctor. Basically what you can do is, if your doctor sees the concern, they can make the referral straight to us. You can also bring any concerns to your family doctor, and they can write a prescription for at least a speech evaluation, and then we can see if it's necessary for treatment or not. So. Anything else? No? All right, well, thank you so much. Again, I have some papers up here in the front that also have the number for Health Fit. If you can think of any other questions or you need some help with the referral process, feel free to call them and we'll get you on board. Thank you.
Yes, Bob?
Your CT scan, is that the low dose radiation?
Yes, it is.
Is that the best in the area?
When we put ours in, we were one of 2 in the country to have it in, so yes.
Low dose.
Yep, you're welcome.